You cannot ever blame the fact that Robyn and I had a deep love on the way that these other relationships.
Narration begins solemn, slow tone. You won't believe what actually took down the Brown family dynasty. It wasn't just the divorces. It wasn't the favoritism. It wasn't even the long-standing resentment. It was a whisper. A whisper that turned into a flame. A flame that erupted into a wildfire, fueled by secrets, lies, and something far worse. Betrayal. For years, fans speculated. Something always felt off about Robyn Brown. The tears that came to Isley. The manipulations that weren't quite seen but always felt. The loyalty Cody gave her, blindly. But this wasn't speculation. This was proof. And it all started with a tape. Scene, a dim room, a laptop glowing in the silence of Janelle's Arizona rental. Janelle sat hunched, her fingers tense against the warm metal of her laptop. Gabe, her loyal, ever-watching son, sat silently beside her. The audio file had no title, just a timestamp, an anonymous link. It was sent from a masked account, but the note it came with was brief, powerful, and devastating. You need to hear this. It's been going on for years. She thinks you'll never find out, but you deserve to know. Janelle clicked play. At first, it's just rustling, muffled breathing. Maybe it was nothing. Then a voice. Her voice. Robyn Brown gasping, nervous. Whispering fast like someone who's afraid they'll be overheard, but too bold to stop. It's just 820K. Cody doesn't need to know the exact amount. If it's filed under family expenses, nobody will question it. Janelle froze. Her heart didn't skip. It stopped. She played it again, louder this time. Gabe stared at her in disbelief, then leaned forward. Mom, did she just say 820,000? Janelle couldn't speak. She didn't need to. Gabe was already pulling up the files. The old folders. The ones from back when they used to trust each other. From when Gabe helped organize family receipts and budget logs during the pandemic, a time when trust meant survival. Gabe's voice cracked. It's not just words. Look, his eyes were wide. The numbers were right there. And worse, the account trails were unmistakable. Robyn had taken over $820,000 from the shared Brown family financial pool. Not for a family investment. Not for emergencies. Not even in a joint trust. She moved it into her own private accounts. Ones Janelle had never seen, counts with Robyn's name only. No Cody, no family. No paper trail shared with TLC's accountants. It's just Robyn. Janelle's hands trembled. This isn't a mistake, Gabe said slowly, staring at the screen. This is stealing. This is lying. This is fraud. Seen a phone call? One that shattered decades of denial that night. Janelle did something she'd never done before. She picked up her phone, not to check on kids, not to text Christine. It's called Meri. Her hand trembled, not with fear, but with the weight of what was coming. Meri answered from her Utah bed and breakfast, her voice gentle and tired. Hey, Janelle, is everything okay? Janelle didn't flinch. Not anymore. She stole the CP money, Meri. Over $800,000, Robyn, and she used Cody's electronic signature. Twice, dead silence. Then Meri whispered, her voice almost inaudible. Wait, are you saying she forged his signature? No, I'm saying she manipulated him. She told him it was for budgeting. He didn't even know. While she was covering herself, she used the family name to launder the theft. Meri was silent, but in her mind, a dam had cracked open. Scene A? Three-way video call. Janelle, Meri, Christine. Janelle sent the tape. Meri played it. Christine joined in a minute later. She didn't blink when she heard it. Christine had always known. She didn't know the numbers, the exact crime, but she knew there were games being played behind their backs. She always had a scheme, Christine said coldly. The rest of us were just pawns. But this is too far. Janelle's voice, always composed, cracked for the first time. She didn't just take money. She took everything. Our trust. Our futures. Our names. Meri's face hardened. She had never looked like this before. Not even when Cody walked away from her emotionally. Not even when Robyn took center stage. Not even when she sat alone for years waiting for crumbs of affection. This time, she burned. Narration, slower, deeper tone, and that was the moment everything changed. Meri, Janelle, Christine, for the first time since the collapse began, since the divorces, since a family fell into silence, they united, not for a show, not for the kids, not for healing, but for justice. Seen inside the TLC production. Meeting a week later, the three women, backed by their adult children, walked into a room that once belonged to Robyn's story arc, but not anymore. In Christine's hands, a legal folder. In Janelle's phone, the recordings. In Meri's heart, enough pain to burn down 10 years of lies. They handed the producers everything. And that's when the truth came out. Narration. Twist revealed the recording didn't come from a leaked cloud file. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't some hacked phone. It came from within, from someone close to production. An insider who had worked silently behind the scenes of Sister Wives for over a decade. They had watched Robyn manipulate the narrative, seen footage mysteriously cut, rewrites, emotional blackmail. They called it editing abuse. Producer, tired, disgusted, and finally fed up, decided enough was enough. They made a copy, they sent it. They knew it would change everything. They just didn't know how much. Seen Robyn confronted privately by TLC Legal when the confrontation came. Robyn was in her signature white blouse and gold jewelry. She smiled, as she always did, expecting to be centered again. She was told to sit. They played the tape. Her smile faded. Her breath hitched. She tried to explain. It was for protection. The account side didn't mean to, but they weren't listening. There were lawyers in the room now. There were consequences. Scene, Cody arrives, confused, furious. Cody stormed in a day later. Eyes wild, demanding to know why the network was threatening legal intervention. He didn't know. He had no idea. They played the tape again. He listened. He slumped. He sat back in his chair, face ghost white. She used my name. She forged my trust. His voice cracked. Robyn sobbed beside him. The tears, the gasps, the desperation, it was the Robyn the world had come to expect. But this time, nobody was buying it. Scene. Public fallout begins. Word got out. At first, whispers on Reddit, then Facebook groups, then TikTok, then full-blown news segments. The headline read, $820,000 missing. Robyn Brown accused of embezzlement from Brown Family Trust. And the world went silent. A narration. Storm building the dynasty that had captivated America was now being dissected under a microscope. But this time, the microscope wasn't pointed at Christine's choices. Or Janelle's
wives. I think it was like a test, he said. And I was like, all it did was,
It reaffirmed?
it was an aphrodisiac.
Part 2. Judgment Day, the fallout begins. Narration, building intensity, steady tone. If Robyn thought she could pull this off, this deception is theft. This betrayal, then she underestimated something more powerful than money. Truth. And more than that, she underestimated the three women she had silently wounded for over a decade. Meri, Janelle, Christine. This wasn't the first time they'd been hurt, but it was the first time they had stood shoulder to shoulder. Not in pain, but in power. And they weren't going to cry this time. They were going to fight. Seen the Flagstaff set, final confrontation? Robyn arrived on set like she always did. Overdressed, over-rehearsed, that signature polished. Smile stretched across her face like a mask that had seen too many seasons. Cody followed behind, muttering about the lighting, about needing more control over the edits, about the narrative. The same old complaints. What they didn't know, what they couldn't know, was that today's shoot wasn't a scene. It was an ambush of truth. A producer stood by a monitor.com. Ready? We just want your response to this recording, he said, eye steady, finger hovering over the tablet. Robyn adjusted her blouse. Cody rolled his eyes. And then, play. It's just 8-2 okay, Cody. doesn't need to know the exact amount. If it's filed under family expenses, nobody will question it. Silence. Robyn's face collapsed in slow motion. Her jaw tensed. Her skin went ghost pale. The color drained from her as if the blood itself had been caught in a lie. Cody stared, not blinking, not moving. He didn't interrupt. He didn't even breathe. When the tape ended, the silence was unbearable. Then, finally, Cody spoke. His voice. Cold, rational, cutting. "You told me you were just handling the finances." Robyn's voice broke, sharp with panic. I am. I had to know. We were okay. I didn't think it would be." But Cody didn't flinch. "My name was on those documents." A beat of silence. Then he exploded. "You said it wasn't a big issue. You said it was for all of us. That you were protecting the family." The room was deathly still, and for the first time, Cody's devotion cracked. His eyes weren't pleading. They were angry. Even he finally understood. He'd been used. The ultimate irony. After all, the years of choosing Robyn over everyone else? She had quietly moved the money out from under his nose. He wasn't the king of the castle. He was just a signature on a document. Seen. The news erupts by the time the Browns had even left. The studio lot, the leaks had started. The whispers that had begun behind the scenes had now roared into full headlines. Entertainment Weekly. Robyn Brown embezzlement scandal. $820,000 missing from family trust. People leaked audio syncs sister wives star TLC in crisis variety. Robyn Brown accused of forgery. Misuse of family funds. It was everywhere. And this time, Robyn had no prepared PR script. No favor from the editors. No soft music playing in the background. There was no misunderstanding to defend. No cry to hide behind. Just cold, hard evidence. Narration rising voice for over a decade, Robyn had positioned herself as the misunderstood wife. The protector. The victim of jealousy. But now, she was the villain, and there was no comeback. Not from TLC, not from the fans, and especially not from her former sister wives. Seeing the women speak. One by one, Christine was the first. To strike, she took to Instagram with a carefully curated timeline. A carousel of screenshots, clips, and receipts. The caption? For those who've asked for transparency, here's a brief summary of how control shifted behind the scenes. When love became business, we all paid the price. Some more than others. Janelle followed. To release redacted bank statements. Documents proving the movement of funds. Copies of signatures. Dates, transfers. One line stood out. This was never just about the money. It was about trust, and that's something we can't get back. Then came Meri. No dramatic post. No screenshots. Just a video. Her voice soft, but her words sharp as glass. There were years I thought the silence made me loyal. That staying quiet meant I was strong. But silence allowed this to happen. And I won't be silent anymore. You don't get to hide behind the word family while stealing from it. It was the most viewed video Meri had ever posted. Over 8.4 million views in 24 hours. Narration, poetic reflection, and just like that. The woman who had once been protected, adored, worshipped by Cody Brown himself, was now completely alone, and it was all her own doing. The empire she had carefully constructed, smile by smile, lie by lie, was crumbling. Not from outside attacks, but from the weight of its own deceit. Seeing the lawsuit 3 days later, the paperwork was filed. Meri Brown, Janelle Brown, Christine Brown v. Robyn Brown. The suit alleged fraud, misuse of community property, financial manipulation, breach of fiduciary trust. The figure: $820,000, plus legal fees, plus emotional damages. TLC released a brief statement. We are aware of recent developments and are conducting an internal investigation. But behind the scenes, TLC was furious. The network had been dealing with ratings fatigue, trying to reposition the show. This scandal, it was both a nightmare and a savior. Seeing Robyn attempts a live stream, it fails in a desperate attempt to regain control. Robyn went live on Instagram. Hair curled, makeup done, candles lit in the background. She smiled that old familiar smile and started to cry. "This has been taken out of context," she said. "You don't know what it's like to carry the financial responsibility of a large family. I didn't steal, I organized. This is character assassination." But the comments were brutal. "You organized OUR money into your bank account. Your tears can't clean up $820,000, Robyn. Meri sat alone for 10 years while you were cashing out." Within minutes, the live was swarmed with angry fans and former supporters alike. She ended the stream, abruptly blocked comments, deleted the video. But it was too late. Clips were everywhere. Seeing Aurora and Brianna, the turning point that night, something even more shocking happened. Aurora and Brianna, who had remained silent throughout the entire family drama, finally broke their silence on a quiet late-night TikTok. Live, their voices were small, but their eyes were red. Aurora began. "We didn't know everything, but we knew something wasn't right. Mom told us to trust her. But she lied to everyone, including us." Brianna nodded, adding softly, "There's things we're just now learning. We're trying to understand it all too." And for the first time in their lives, the daughters of Robyn Brown stood on the outside of her shadow. Narration, quiet intensity. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about generational truth, about the children waking up, about women finally standing not in rage but in clarity. Seeing Cody retreats, his downfall begins, and where was Cody? At first he defended her half-heartedly. She didn't mean harm, she was trying to protect us. But the facts were undeniable. And after the live stream, the lawsuit, and the betrayal by his daughters, he unraveled. Disappearing from social media, pulling out of scheduled TLC filming. He was a man who had lost everything: his wives, his children, his pride. And now even the woman he had once chosen above all had lied to him. Meri Brown sat in her Utah bed and breakfast, the cursor blinking as she typed. It wasn't rage. Not anymore. It was something colder, more permanent. A grief wrapped in steel. "This is not just about money," she wrote. "This is about trust broken beyond repair." And with that, her silence officially ended. The same silence Robyn had depended on. The same silence that once looked like loyalty. Now it looked like complicity. And Meri would carry that no longer. Scene, court of public opinion explodes. The world didn't need a judge to reach its verdict. Not yet. Because fans, viewers, critics, all of them had waited for proof that the golden wife, the softly spoken strategist behind Cody's throne, was never just a victim. The leaked tape had shattered the illusion. But it was Meri's voice, steady, mournful, that pierced the public's heart. She stole our voice. She stole our future. And she did it while we waited for her to be honest. The hashtags were brutal. Hashtag Robyn stole everything. Hashtag justice for Janelle. Meri deserved. Better hashtag community property, not ROBYNS empire. And while the fans raged online, Meri and Janelle moved quietly, swiftly, and legally. They weren't just angry, they were done. Scene, legal filing, Brown versus Brown. A lawsuit was filed in Coconino County Superior Court. Meri Brown and Janelle Brown versus Robyn Brown. Their demand: an independent forensic audit of all family accounts from 2020 to 2024, return of $820,000 to the community pool, charges of fraud, coercion, and forgery, court-ordered freezing of Robyn's private accounts. The legal documents were not vague. They named names, listed dates, included spreadsheets, digital trails, and screenshots. Even the language was sharp. An intentional pattern of financial obfuscation and manipulation under the guise of spiritual marriage and family unity. And the most stunning part? Cody didn't stop it. Seen Cody's statement? A whisper of defeat in a short, carefully worded public statement. Cody Brown said only, "We're working through internal family matters with legal guidance." It was sterile, empty, like a balloon with no air left. After everything, after decades of loud declarations of headship and family order, Cody now simply stepped aside. And that said more than any outburst ever could. Scene: TLC halts production. The silence begins with the scandal breaking wider than they could control. TLC issued a memo to the cast. All filming paused indefinitely pending legal outcomes. Robyn stopped returning calls. She reportedly threatened to sue the network for airing the private audio. But it was far too late. The footage had escaped the studio. The genie was out. The empire, hers and Cody's, was unraveling frame by frame. Seen the empty house, Robyn alone back at home. The very house Robyn had convinced Cody to buy. The one that bore her name on the deed. There was nothing but silence. The children were quiet. The cameras were gone. The accounts were frozen. The phone didn't ring. Cody wasn't home. Robyn sat on the edge of a leather sofa in a house full of echoes, scrolling headline after headline. Robyn Brown accused of financial betrayal. The $820,000 that destroyed a family. The final blow to polygamy's most famous clan. She tried to call Cody. Voicemail. She dialed TLC's legal team. Blocked. No calls. No confessionals. No editor to soften her voice or add sorrowful music. "I was just trying to protect what was mine," she whispered. But the words sounded thin. Even to her. Seen the family realignment, Robyn not invited while Robyn crumbled in silence. The rest of the family gathered in Arizona. For the first time in years, they were together. Without Cody, without Robyn, without fear. Janelle stood at the front of the room, confident, clear-eyed. "We need to reclaim our power," she said. "We're done being controlled." Meri looked around the room at Savannah, at Hunter, Michael T., Gwendolyn, Gabriel. These weren't just children anymore. They were witnesses. They were the generation that would end the cycle. Christine, always the most emotionally transparent, rose next. She used our silence to build her empire. But that silence ends today. Seen Courtroom showdown, Flagstaff. The sun rose cold and unyielding over the Flagstaff courthouse. Outside, reporters, fans, ex-Mormon activists, even curious locals lined the sidewalk. Inside, the walls whispered history. At exactly 9:14 a.m., a black SUV pulled up. Out stepped Robyn Brown, no smile, no tears. Just desperation, wrapped in pearls. Behind her, her lawyer clutching a leather case of damage control. Inside the gallery, Janelle and Meri waited. Christine had submitted a written affidavit. No cameras, no producers, just justice. Scene. Cody takes the stand. Shocking moment. The court was in session for less than 30 minutes when the clerk announced, "Mr. Cody Brown, please step forward." The room gasped. He hadn't been expected to testify. But there he was, hair slicked tighter than usual, suit slightly oversized, face drawn. He looked smaller, tired, hollowed out. He swore in quietly. Then came the question, "Did you approve?" The transfer of more than $820,000 into accounts held solely by Robyn Brown. A long silence. Cody blinked, looked down, then back at the judge. "No," he said. "I didn't read the forms. I trusted Robyn." Murmurs rippled. Then the judge leaned in. "Did you know 3 of those documents contain your digital signature?" Another silence. "No," Cody said, shaking his head. "I trusted her. She told me she was streamlining things for the family." In that moment, it wasn't Cody's emotional collapse that mattered. It was his admission. The one thing the women had begged him to see for years. And now, finally, in a courtroom full of strangers, he did. Scene: Janelle's testimony, controlled fury. Janelle stood, spine straight, no makeup, just resolve. Her voice didn't shake. It didn't need to. This isn't just about numbers. It's about intent. She laid out how finances were once jointly managed, how Robyn slowly, methodically removed transparency, how any question was dismissed as creating mistrust. But now we see, it wasn't help. It was concealment. She turned and stared directly at Robyn. You lied. To Cody. To the family. To our children. You stole from their future. Robyn's lawyers winced. They tried to object. But it was too late. Seeing Christine's affidavit, the final nail, the clerk read aloud. I was excluded from all financial meetings beginning in 2021. Robyn told me once, when I expressed concern, you'll all leave eventually. I'm the only one staying. It makes sense for me to oversee everything. Christine's affidavit ended with, she laughed when she said it. That's what I remember most. The laugh. Scene. Robyn's collapse. The truth breaks through. Robyn didn't cry. She didn't scream. She sat frozen. As the court detailed unmatched signatures, altered records, unexplained